Absolutely. So here is our two principles that we talk about in the evolved negotiation framework. And that is negotiate people, not problems or challenges. So what happens in real estate, because real estate itself is transactional, it's an exchange of dollars and cents for something. But the process of investing in negotiation is not or shouldn't be a transactional because you're dealing with a human being. The human being is not the dollars and cents. So you want to separate the dollars and cents and the transaction from the person who's making the decisions around the transaction, and that's the human being.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. Today's guest, Derrick Chevalier, is a negotiation expert, California real estate investor, consultant, and trainer. You can find him on LinkedIn and also on his website, h-c.com. Derrick, thank you for taking the time today.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I'm excited to talk with you and to share with your guests. Thank you for having me on.
When we talk about negotiation, really nothing could be more important than negotiation skills, especially for, newer investors, especially for single family home investors. And sometimes this gets glossed over because people think, you just can knock enough doors, make enough calls, send enough mailers. But having been in these rooms, having sat down at, the kitchen tables with people in some very distressing situations, that could be, someone losing their home, foreclosure, it could be a death in the family, it could be divorce, it could be family, fighting over property. And then here comes me, a wholesaler or an investor, and I have to try to come and make sense of the situation while also, of course, looking for a deal. And so these kind of high stakes conversations are really where money is made and where deals happen.
Absolutely. So here is our two principles that we talk about in the evolved negotiation framework. And that is negotiate people, not problems or challenges. So what happens in real estate, because real estate itself is transactional, it's an exchange of dollars and cents for something. But the process of investing in negotiation is not or shouldn't be a transactional because you're dealing with a human being. The human being is not the dollars and cents. So you want to separate the dollars and cents and the transaction from the person who's making the decisions around the transaction, and that's the human being. So if you're talking about negotiating people, the first thing that we're connecting with are with the human beings. And then what we want to do is understand, are we dealing with someone who is going to be influenced or impacted more by the pain points that they're feeling? You mentioned divorce, or they're losing their property. So it may be pain points that I want to focus on that I can relieve for them. And again, in real estate investing, everybody's talking about pain points. Well, we come along and say, well, yeah, but there's another side of that. There are some people who are in so much pain, they can't hear you. And what they need to
Yeah, yeah.
hear about are the benefits of whatever deal you're offering. So now what I'm doing is I'm thinking, "Oh, I need to focus on the benefits of the transaction that I am offering or willing to be engaged with these, people." So we wanna negotiate people first and not problems or challenges.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Now, when we talk specifically about the type of person that is going to be successful at this, what typically gets preached is, hey, you got to work hard, you got to be consistent, you got to follow up. But I don't often hear like, hey, you got to have some type of maybe personal aptitude and capacity to handle these conversations. But I've personally seen it. I've seen people who are like naturals, and they're not necessarily real estate guys or gals, but they can just kind of hang in the pocket, sit back and listen, very astutely analyze who the players are in a discussion. And it might not be the person with the money. Ironically, it might just be the person who is kind of the voice of reason within a family. They might not even be on the title of the home, but you've got to get their permission to go forward in real estate negotiations specifically. Do you think that some of this is like maybe genetic or like nature versus nurture, or can anyone learn to be a great negotiator?
So, yes, to everything that you said. There are people that have innate skills whose demeanor and whose physical presence, are such that people are drawn to them. And for those people, they don't need to read a book. They don't need to be told how to do it. It happens for them. The door's open. If you're that person, I wouldn't change anything. If you're not that person, then the antidote is skill. So ultimately, depending on your own demeanor and depending on your own background, if you want to be successful in real estate, negotiation is what you're doing. That is what it is. The entire sector is negotiation, whether it's the paperwork and the transaction or it's the decision that gets you into the paperwork and the transition. So, yes, I think that skill is the common denominator, and anyone can improve their skill depending on how much on their learning style and on how much they're willing to actually focus. And the last thing I'll say about this is that part of the problem today is that if you go online, there are 10,000 gurus who are telling you which direction to go. So what
Right.
happens to young investors or even experienced investors, they'll take a tidbit from here and a tidbit from there and a tidbit from there and a tidbit from there. And what they end up with is a hodgepodge that doesn't actually add up to any kind of actual skill. They just have a lot of independent tactics and strategies that they throw at the board. I suggest that people actually commit to learning a framework of negotiation, utilize it, make money with it, fail with it, succeed with it, learn it, and then add to that and develop their own style over a period of time.
Now, when you mentioned having your own style, um, there's going to be some people who think, well, I'm not a natural at this. I have to kind of fake it till I make it type of thing. can people tailor, negotiation strategy to their personality? Or let's say if someone likes to, is a chatty Cathy, right? And just really likes to talk and talk and talk, and maybe their skill isn't listening, would they have to almost eliminate that portion of themselves completely?
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
So that's a great question. So if you're a chatty Cathy and you don't have skill, that's pretty simple. Talk to people who respond to chatty Cathy. So your
Mm.
objective there would simply be to isolate whether or not you're speaking to someone who is open to a chatty Cathy, verbal person, right? And if you have a couple of tools, you can find out just by looking at somebody's eyes or whether or not they're paying attention or if there's a synergy there pretty quickly. If there isn't, and you're not willing to utilize and extend your skill, walk away and go find somebody that is. So that's the simplest straight line. Talk to the people who are naturally open to your style. But what that does is it means now that instead of being able to find a potential prospect or a potential deal out of 1 out of 10 deals, you're going to be looking for 1 out of 30 deals. So the more
Yeah.
people that you can respond to and adjust to, what you want to do is cut that prospect to deal ratio from 1 in 10 or 1 in 20 to 3 or 4 in 10 or 5 and 6 in 20. And that's going to increase your success ratio. So the amount of skill that you have opens up the number of adjustments that you can make that allow you to interact and be successful with more people, which means that you can do more transactions.
Now, there's kind of this idea that I've seen in wholesale specifically, and I don't know if this is changing, and it might not change, and I've done it myself, so I can't exactly say that this is a bad thing or a good thing, but it's basically make a bunch of offers, make 100 offers, and they might be lower than market value, but one's gonna stick. And part of that is this idea of just like in mass, you'll get one. In volume, you'll find one. But then there's also another approach, which is, more, I would say, more people centric and less volume based, which is, hey, I'm going to go, knock on some doors, build rapport with these people, follow up with them, get to the kitchen table, and ultimately find a deal that way. Now, one of the challenges that I think a lot of people face is you almost feel like you have to pick one, right? Because if you're making 100 offers, that's a full time job. If you're knocking doors and building these relationships, that is one full time job entirely too. It can feel like. Do you feel like people can work in both worlds, or if you're going to go with like the volume approach and more just like strictly numbers based, that you should stick with that versus oscillating between being heavy people and relational based versus just being numbers focused?
Great question again. The answer is look at your resources. If you're taking a long-term approach, which is knocking on doors and developing relationships, that takes time. So you know that you're not going to go out and knock on doors and build a relationship in 24 hours. It may not happen in 6 months. It may not happen in a year. So if you're in the longer you're in the game, you knocked on a door 3 years ago, suddenly somebody's in a circumstance where they need help. And because you've maintained some kind of contact with them, you're the one that they turn to. Well, okay. So if you're not doing anything else within the period between when you started knocking on that door and developing that relationship and the 3 years later when they are in a position to need you, then you're not going to be available because you'll be out of business. So you're going to want to do both of those things and other things. And the technology today is allowing us to do that, so that we want
Yep.
that one-on-one personal contact, people, but we also want to utilize AI tools, which make it possible to prospect on a broad area on autopilot. And AI is only just beginning to deliver the capability. So going forward, you're not going to have a choice, because you won't be able to compete in the field against people that are utilizing those tools. So you need to learn the tools, and then you need to have a process that you're investing both one-on-one as well as prospecting on a broader area, so that you're hitting, throwing that stuff against the wall for the one that's going to stick.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
The negotiation space in general is something that I've been very interested in for a handful of years. I read Chris Voss's book, Never Split the Difference. I loved that book. And one of the things that stuck out to me, and we talked about this at the show here today, is, people can learn some like basic skills, like radio FM DJ voice, this kind of low and slow. You can start to do strategic, like logistical things to enhance your negotiation ability. But there's also a lot of noise out there. And you mentioned this, Derek, where, there's going to be hundreds of people and so many different ways to go about it, that part of it too is you get like death by a thousand paper cuts, or what have you. When you're teaching someone negotiation, or when you're working with someone who's looking at becoming better at negotiation, what are some of the common mistakes that you see people making?
Yes. First of all, people not understanding that every interaction is a negotiation. Yesterday, I was talking to a extremely successful executive in the insurance world. They've got one of the biggest agencies in the country, and they were talking about how the CEO of the international company had flown out. And I later asked him, I said, well, how are you training your people in the area of negotiation? And he said, well, we don't do much negotiation. He goes, our pricing is dictated by state law or by our international policy. Now, ultimately, here's a very sophisticated person who doesn't realize he was actually on a recruiting call. When they reached out to me, they were really reaching out to find out whether or not I might be a prospect for recruiting. Now, if recruiting's not a negotiation, what is? But here you have a very sophisticated person who's only thinking about negotiation in transactional terms, not thinking about negotiation in terms of relationships and in terms of human beings, right? So the first thing that people make is thinking that negotiation is not a part of every aspect of their interaction with other people. The second thing is that people are driven by their assumptions and by their presumptions, by their beliefs that they bring to the table. And then rather than testing those beliefs, they walk into a situation, make an offer, for instance, make an assessment about a situation based upon their position. And that's one of the things that happens in negotiation, where somebody believes like, oh, this couple's getting divorced, things are really bad,
Right.
everything's falling apart. So let me go in and lowball and provide a lowball offer because they may be open to that. Well, the deal may not have anything to do with the divorce or the financial situation because of the human dynamics between the players, as you said earlier. So if we understood the dynamics between the people, then we're going to look to resolve that before we deal with the transaction. So the biggest mistake people make is trusting their own assumptions rather than asking appropriate questions. And second of all, not understanding that negotiation is a fundamental part of every human interaction.
Yeah, I mean, when once you start to see the uh dynamic, like the interpersonal, social dynamics once, and then you see it in other areas of life. I've had, and I'm sure you've had this experience. You start to use this in all of your areas of life, and all. You sometimes think, "Hey, are people going to realize that I'm using this now?" And then you realize, no, it's just a part of life, right?
Right.
So, like, even when someone may be, beholden to you, like if you're trying to get good service at a restaurant, right? You can start to see things through this kind of lens versus, demanding, and I'm going to write a bad Yelp review. That's one way that you could negotiate, but there's other subtle things that you could do too. It just bleeds into everything. We are coming up on time here though, Derrick. Any new projects that you're working on? And then also, what's the best way for folks to get in contact with you or your team?
Thanks so much for asking. Well, the first thing is go to our website, h-c.com. But to get some in-depth answers to the questions and topics that we've been talking about, I really would encourage people to look on Amazon or go on the internet and look for my book, Evolve or Be Slaughtered: Negotiation for the 21st Century. That is an actual textbook that will give you step-by-step insights on how to build skill step at a time, and that can go from a simple transactional deal on a single family to multinational deals. It's being used in politics and in government and all over the place. So you can be as sophisticated or as simple as you want to make it. And it's a great place to start because it's focused on the framework, which allows people to be able to build a style given their own attributes as they go out there. So that's a big part. But I'll also say this, we do offer a 30-minute, no cost, no obligation consult for anybody on any issue. If you got a deal going or you're considering a deal, we'll talk about it and we'll provide some actionable steps that you can go out and give it a try. When you see the results of that, we don't need to sell you. Your results will sell you. And because we're first looking to provide value and then to create relationships where we can go a little deeper. So the website, anywhere on the LinkedIn profile, if you want to see some of the uh, uh, podcasts and other things that we've done talking about different aspects and tools.
Derrick, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure speaking with you. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.